Hi guys, welcome back. Obviously today we're going to be talking about Darius, but quickly before we get into that, I want to quickly mention that in the top right hand corner of the screen right now, there will be a card that pops up, so you guys can check out the buff that they did to flawless blocking very recently. Other than that, you guys can use the timestamps below to skip to any part that you may find interesting, or just straight to the combos at the end. Other than that, let's get straight on to what Darius does for Liu Kang. So quickly, before we talk about what Darius does for Liu Kang, let's quickly talk about what Darius does. Darius is a character that is very expensive. What do I mean by this? Is usually you want to use Darius's move that is neutral cameo and then use follow-ups. This neutral cameo has a lot of other follow-ups that can be done, but just the single cameo takes up the entire bar. This is good and bad, and you guys will see in a second why when I get into it. So let's talk about what Darius does for Liu Kang. For some circumstances, Liu Kang and Darius work really well together against cameos like Serena. I'm not sure what other cameos he is good against, but characters that have Serena-like moves are very easily punished. Now, obviously, you can punish Serena's Back Kameo easily with a lot less damage. So, you could just do this. You could just do that, and that's, 13.6%, which is pretty good. And you have hit advantage of +3, which from that distance doesn't really matter too much. However, with Darius, you get this. Well, let me try that again. Now you can see the damage is exponentially increased. I know I spent 2 bars there, but you can also spend 1 bar and it ends up doing 34% damage compared to, the 13.6% or whatever it was beforehand. So for moves like that, Darius is extremely good. Now, what else can Darius do? He can absorb moves and punish you for them. Let's take a look at what that looks like. So we've got Shang Tsung here. Let's see how to use Darius in a situation where he can absorb a move for you, take the hit, and you can punish your opponent. So in those cases, you can clearly see you can use Darius during your opponent's pressure to take some of the heat off you, and then you can punish them back straight up. I'll show you guys that one more time. I went way too far there. And the reason I'm using Darius to take the hit for me is because I want them to still be in basically the cancel frames of down 1. So when they hit Darius, they're sort of stuck in an animation, so back 2 can instantly punish them. That's the reason you want to use Darius, to absorb moves and all those types of things. Now, let's move on to wake ups. So Darius doesn't really have a wake up move that gives you invincibility or armor. However, Liu Kang's wake up game is actually not too bad as it is. However, when you add Darius to your wake up game as Liu Kang, you get conversions. They're not totally insane, they're not the craziest damage, but they do a lot more damage than a lot of other wake ups. So let's have a look at this. So you can see all of a sudden I'm doing 16.7% compared to the regular wake up, which is, I'm pretty sure, 11%. It is. So you can get literally confirms on your wake up. We'll just do it one more time. And you can spend the extra bar if you want for almost 20%. So he gives you an armored wake up confirm, basically. It's really weird to explain, but as you guys can see, it's a lot easier when you see it. Next up, we'll move on to some plus frames. So let's talk about his plus frames with Darius now. And I've found a very consistent way of doing this. And it involves doing bicycle kick or dancing dragon on block. And this is what it looks like. It leaves him at +5. When you are at +5, there is no gap to armor through between the last kick of back forward 4 and the Darius move anymore. So I'll show you guys that now. The game literally won't let you armor because there's no gap anymore. So that is a thing. Now, let's say you do have meter. Where would you spend it against these plus frames? I will show you guys. Right there. As soon as he does the bicycle kick, or the dancing dragon, whatever you want to call it, that's where you have to spend the meter. And I mean you have to spend meter, because you cannot interrupt this whatsoever without meter. You need armor to get through this sequence. So if you don't have armor, you literally have to block all of this. Now obviously he gets the chip and the meter build and all that sort of stuff, but that's not important because you can just force block the move anyways. So yeah, there's no point debating on the chip and meter building, but that is really important that he is +5, and that leaves Kung Lao's +2 for dead. And that is an actual plus frame that you have to deal with, because this character has a 10 frame mid and you have to deal with it because it'll be coming out for you to deal with it in 5 frames. So you literally have to block against this. So let's talk about the final thing on our list today, and that is the hard to blockable setup that you can do with Darius, which obviously still spends all the Kameo meter. Now you will see in the combos I've provided, I use a different follow-up on the Darius moves. This is because they do the most damage possible, and that's what the combos are for. They're for the most damage possible. However, you can still do this hard to blockable setup with all these combos that end with me doing Darius. You just have to use a different input. What is that input? Is literally Kameo, front Kameo, and then you just hold the Kameo button until you're ready to let go, and he'll do an overhead move. So, in a combo, it would literally look like this. So, you can see that one was a low overhead. You can always change the timing to make the overhead hit first. So the overhead was super early there. But you can make it so the string ends up being high, low overhead, or high overhead, low. You're probably thinking, well, it's a high, can't they just down 1 on wake up? You can also just whiff the high and just hit them with the low, and then they still have to deal with the hard to blockable. And make sure you don't get too good at this, because there's a mechanic in the game that stops you from being hit with basically an unblockable situation, and that way if you block low and the overhead hits at the same time, it just blocks it and the overhead doesn't matter. So you have to time it perfectly, but that is the hard to blockable setup with Darius. They're all the things that you can do with Darius and Liu Kang. I hope you guys have enjoyed and will enjoy the combos. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.
Disappointing.